The new second SAO Alicization opening. I really got an Attack on Titan vibe from this one. So what's up guys, Foxen here. Time for my juicy breakdown for the new SAO Alicization opening. I'm doing things slightly different this time around. Naturally this is going to be spoiler filled, although I will avoid going into a couple of major spoilers. If you do want to find out the deeper stuff, I'll actually be going into the major spoilers at the last section of this video. I'll let you know when that is. Anyone else could just jump off at that point. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And don't forget to subscribe for more juicy SAO videos from a huge SAO fan. At the start of this new opening, you have Kirito and Eugeo in the new uniforms. Eugeo right here is looking like the freaking flame alchemist. Do notice their sword spin here. It is a parallel to the first opening. It is super similar but not the same. The first time around, you had one horizontal spin followed by a vertical one. Now it's all purely vertical rotations. It really symbolizes how much more experienced they are now, and also shows their journey together. Both of these two are fully in sync. Next up, you have Eugeo's scene. In all, this is really showcasing the 2 years after they left the Rulet village to the Swords Academy. You can see the two buddies traveling together, Kirito's lazy ass sleeping. It really reminds me of season 1 when Asuna fell asleep. So Eugeo, you're now Kirito's Asuna. You got both of them training with the wooden swords for the Zakaria chapter that got cut out. Then Eugeo looking at his hand, he clearly wants to become stronger. This is all interrupted by Eugeo falling into the water. This is a pretty common visual for openings, and sometimes even endings in the actual anime episode. It simply means that the person is falling into despair or into the darkness. For Eugeo, if you go to the despair route, it really just shows his regret over what happened to young Alice, his inability to do anything all those years back. For the darker route, it shows Eugeo potentially becoming corrupted by QUINELLA. Next up, you have the Alice scene. You can see the Golden Knight with her precious lost memories. Potentially, this could be something she often dreams of, just the previous trio growing up and playing around in the Rulet village. Unfortunately, you do see the tragic reality of the young girl growing up filled with lies to become this integrity knight. This part is displayed perfectly with Alice's shadow counterpart here, the little girl standing into the knight current self. As a conclusion to the scene, you got this bright light and almost dusting effect. You could consider this being QUINELLA's Thanos snapping Alice's important memories. The damning part is the shot overlay with this bird flying out as Alice is reaching for it. You may have noticed that birds are extremely commonly used in anime openings and anime in general. This symbolizes a freedom that Alice couldn't grasp or reach. In this case, that's linked to poor Alice's memories. What is surprising here is what's not actually here, which is something for Kirito. In a way, it does make sense since Kirito can't be mind crushed by QUINELLA. By the way, just a little side note about the Eugeo and Alice scene. I've actually seen a lot of complaints about this looking lower quality for the animation. Keep in mind that this is actually pretty stylized, especially when you compare it to the high quality animation that comes later, or even the animation from the first Alicization opening. Whether this animation style was chosen for limited resource reasons, I'm gonna go with I doubt it. Perhaps it may not be your thing, which is totally fine, but this was done on purpose, it's not lower quality at all. Next up, you see Kirito pushed back by some strong wind. It is to the point that Kirito is forced to the ground. Interestingly, it seems that Eugeo is unaffected. I think this is a great reminder that Kirito is still struggling with so much internal conflict. I don't know if they'll go deep into this at this point for the season 3 anime, but Kirito in the novel didn't want to go back at all to the Black Swordsman from SAO. As for the actual Crimson Integrity Knight fight, it really reminds me of the Minotaur fight from the season 1 opening. In other words, showing a fight that isn't really how it all played out. In this case, Kirito being the one up in front slashing the Crimson Knight. Next up, you have the second Integrity Knight, which was already revealed from the visual. This is really showing off Kirito versus her on the 50th floor. If I recall, Fanatio had this sword that was made from one of QUINELLA's experiments. She was trying to use the power of the sun. The Integrity Knight here now wields this laser solar beam that could penetrate almost anything. Sorry Kirito, that ice shield move won't work this time. Next up, Alice Unleashed. Alice right now is currently waiting on like floor 80. Right here, Alice is unleashing her fragrant olive sword. Her sword is actually pretty similar to Kirito's Night Sky sword. However, hers is much more powerful. It actually comes from one of the older trees in the underworld. For Alice's actual move, her sword splits into thousands of golden flower petals. If you ever seen Bleach, it's pretty similar to Byakuya's Bankai or Shikai. I'm definitely glad the animation is so high quality for Alicization just to be able to fully show off Alice. Kirito versus Alice, here we come. Next up, Eugeo and Kirito taking out their swords along with their sword switching signs. I think by now these two swords being counterparts to one another is pretty clear. The weird but interesting part is how Eugeo and Kirito are still in their academy uniforms. I had to double check this since the Kirito scene looked pretty familiar when he fought Volo. It turns out it's just pretty similar, not them reusing the actual scene. Next up, QUINELLA's favorite hobby, bathing in her victim's blood. Mwahaha. This is actually what reminded me of the Attack on Titan opening, either the Eren or Armin shot in blood. The wide shot has QUINELLA surrounded by random weapons in the blood. QUINELLA is looking like some demon or devil goddess here. Naturally, she still is butt naked. I do wonder how they'll show her in the later episodes, since she does prefer to show off her body in her chambers. Will the studio just keep on doing that hair thing to cover up her fun bits? Next up, Eugeo running, then reaching out. This really symbolizes Eugeo becoming even closer with his sword. After all, Kirito is the one that's an experienced swordsman, so it's actually going to be harder for Eugeo in comparison. Now for the shot of Kirito in blood. This definitely shows the broken down, desperate Kirito in the fight against QUINELLA. Kirito right here is all bloody, his arm is slashed, he's leaking blood everywhere. As for some of the shots here, you do see Eugeo lying in a lot of blue roses, eyes open. It then switches to a similar shot, except that the eyes are now closed with Eugeo on red roses. What he may have missed was his middle shot with the blood dripping on the blue rose. I think this is clearly foreshadowing the red rose sword that'll be unleashed in their fight versus QUINELLA. As for Alice here, you briefly do see her in the sun. Naturally, both of these guys are going to be battling Alice. Alice right now is stationed at like floor 80. This sunshine on the top shows something that'll happen during their fight. Oh, but let's not forget about the nudist QUINELLA on her favorite bed. Oh QUINELLA, I'll become your knight. Of course, this is the infamous bed that turns all guys and some ladies into her night puppets. Although do notice how it flips over to the nudist QUINELLA on a pile of crimson skulls. Very nice symbolism for what the bed of hers is actually used for. It reminds me a little bit of Terminator. Unsurprisingly, QUINELLA definitely has a lot of blood on her hands. The thing is, that is way over 30 skulls, or should I say memories of her nights. Slowly, QUINELLA's dark deeds will come to the light. As for the light cube here, could this be QUINELLA's light cube? I was trying to double check the number on it, but I couldn't find it in the novel. It then flips over to multiple cubes. I'll just mention that QUINELLA has a plan using multiple light cubes, which are the flux light pieces from the Integrity Knights. Next up, the elevator girl. I know some of you were wondering whether there was an elevator in this tower. It turns out there is, on like floor 50. This girl actually has a surprisingly sad story. QUINELLA basically stripped her of everything just to function as this NPC for the elevator for centuries. Just another great example of how wonderful QUINELLA really is. Next up, this clown. His name is Chuttle King, and first off, screw this clown. This guy is pretty much QUINELLA's right-hand man. QUINELLA may have her powerful Integrity Knight army, but above them stands this clown. He pretty much oversees the Integrity Knight and secret operations of the Axiom Church. Perhaps he may not be as powerful, but he does have the power to freeze any knight. I could just imagine this guy being made to be super slimy, which would be justified. This clown might be the only one that knows the truth about the Axiom Church that's close to QUINELLA. Next up, the two girls, Linnell and Fizzel. The daggers and blood here remind me of little Silica. These two are technically not Integrity Knights, but more like in-training knights. And this really just showcases more of QUINELLA's nasty experiments. Here's a quick taste. QUINELLA back in the day had a bunch of kids continuously killing one another. QUINELLA just kept on reviving them until only 2 of these were left, which was partially due to the nasty resurrection side effects. Both of these two excel in killing in one hit. Next up, the hand reaching out, which should be either Alice or Eugeo's. I think it's more likely to be a parallel to the young Alice reaching out from earlier on in this opening. This is followed by a happy Cardinal shot, perhaps now very happy that she found people to help her. Plus, she could leave the damn library soon. Next up, Kirito and Eugeo's handshake is back. It is pretty similar to the one from the first opening, except this time they are walking away from each other. Ooh, trouble in paradise coming? Unsurprisingly, even the best of buddies don't always see eye to eye. Then the final shot up, the two swords. A very nice reference to the first opening. Recall Kirito and Asuna's sword together, which really just makes me miss Asuna even more. But don't forget, Kirito and Lifa also did something similar in Alphen Online. Also, just a potential tease at the upcoming dual wielding to come. As for the new song for this opening, tell me, how are you liking this song? I keep on listening and more to it. I think slowly it's growing even more on me. Unfortunately, it is going to be super hard for this to beat out Lisa. I mean, personally, I've seen Lisa live, so that's going to make it even harder to beat. Anyway, now getting even more in depth, major spoilers up ahead. Keep in mind, I'm only going to be touching on stuff up until the first half of Alicization, so up until episode maybe 24. First off is a shot of Eugeo falling in the water. This is literally Eugeo falling for QUINELLA. Ultimately, QUINELLA will deceive Eugeo, just poking at his weakness until Eugeo cracks. Reborn will be Integrity Knight Eugeo. Oh yes, and he's going to get the armor too. Next up, this shot of Eugeo and the sword. This is literally Eugeo fusing with the sword for the QUINELLA fight. Ultimately, Eugeo's gonna use whatever remains of him to help take out the wicked QUINELLA. Next up, bloody Kirito shouting. First off, unfortunately Eugeo on the rose on the ground is foreshadowing his death in the QUINELLA fight. The rose that's flipping over from blue to red is for the red rose sword. The red literally coming from Eugeo's life. Meanwhile, all of these images of Eugeo and even Alice are overlaid with Kirito looking in extreme pain. Unfortunately, this is a reference to Kirito's upcoming pain. Unable to save either Eugeo or Alice in the final fight versus QUINELLA. Only a broken Kirito will remain. Ultimately, this leads into the handshake shot. This time, Eugeo and Kirito are walking away from each other, which is really since Eugeo is literally going away from Kirito into the light, or off into the sunset with young Alice. Meanwhile, Kirito heads into the darkness himself. Kinda reminds me of the whole Yuki situation. This time, Kirito has to be the one to deal with the crushing loss. Finally, for the final shot of the dual blades, 3 things about this. The first is Kirito ultimately going back to that black dual swordsman versus QUINELLA. I think most of you guessed that Kirito would in fact be dual wielding using the second blue rose sword. Unfortunately, the 2 swords that remained really show what was left over from the QUINELLA fight. Poor Eugeo is gone forever, and Kirito's mind shattered as a result. And of course, before all of this happens, it really just shows Kirito versus Eugeo, or should I say Integrity Knight Eugeo. So that pretty much wraps it up. Don't forget I did do a full breakdown on the first opening. Go ahead and check that out. Did you miss anything there? But anyway, more important, let me hear from you. Question of the day. Which opening did you like more, this one or the first Lisa one? Did you catch all of the stuff here from watching? Or did you miss anything? Did I miss anything? Anyway, smash that thumbs up and subscribe. I got a juicy SAO Alicization video coming up. You definitely don't want to miss that one. Don't forget to check out my top anime of 2018. Did SAO Season 3 even make my list? Find out and I'll see you guys later.